You know, the Muffin Man?
Yes, I know the Muffin Man. The one that lives on Drury Lane?
Well, she's married to the Muffin Man.
The Muffin Man?
The Muffin Man!
She's married to the Muffin Man. Hello everyone, it is Briximus Prime, back for another Star Wars The Black Series action figure video, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Holiday Edition Mandalorian Warrior, Phase 2 Clone Trooper, and Protocol Droid. So anyway, let's just get right on into it by starting with the packaging. And now taking a look at the packaging here, it's just the standard shape for the Black Series packaging, only this time it's got the open window, it has the character's name, and it's got this like holiday design with snowflakes and all this stuff, and it's got a to and from, all done in the Star Wars text. And then it just gives a little description of each of the different characters, and honestly, there's nothing much else to say, except, you know, it's very Christmassy. So that is really it for the packaging. And now getting into the accessories here, starting off with the little, I guess, sidekick characters is what we'll call it. The Phase 2 Gingerbread Clone Trooper came with this little Porg, all painted up in little Santa colors. He's got like a little Santa like coat on. He's got the black head with the white, blue eyes. And honestly, there's nothing much to say about this Porg other than that, you know, he's just got these paint apps and everything, and he's honestly a really static little figure there. Anyway, moving on to the Mandalorian, the Christmas Mandalorian. He came with this little guy here. I can't remember the exact name of these guys, but I know they were in the Jedi Fallen Order video game, and I do have the original one of these from that deluxe Cal Kestis figure, only now it's done in the blue with the white. Here's a comparison between those two, and as you can see, you can definitely see where the Christmas colors come in on this one. And then with the Christmas Protocol Droid, he came with a little Christmassy BD unit with these little, I guess, like socks on its legs and this little hat and everything. And overall, it looks pretty Christmassy and everything. And here it is compared next to the BD one I got included with that deluxe Cal Kestis figure. And as you can see, they are definitely much different from each other, but essentially the exact same figure overall. But yeah, really do like these. Starting off with the Clone Trooper's accessory, he comes with a classic clone rifle, but only except this time it's painted up in white and with the tip in orange, which I think is a really cool way for Hasbro to reference their own toy line of Nerf. They really make this look like a Nerf gun version, a toy Nerf gun version of the classic clone gun. Same thing applies to the Mandalorian's rifle here. Again, it's all done in the orange, white, and brown, so it looks like a spitting image, micro spitting image of the full-scale Mandalorian Nerf gun. And then finally, the Protocol Droid comes with this scarf, which is reused from the Solo A Star Wars Story Lando figure, and this just simply wrap it around his neck, and that's a pretty, simplistic look, but it does get the job done, and it does add a little bit of extra Christmassy flair to him. And I guess we're starting with the Protocol Droid, since I've already got him out here, and overall, honestly, the Protocol Droid here is nothing too unique. I mean, it really is just a C-3PO looking droid with, in these Christmassy white, green, and red colors with the scarf on it. And the mechanical detail and everything is there. It's just due to the colors, it does kind of blend some of them together, like the stockings here on his legs. But overall, I do still think that this guy does still look the part. My only problem is that even though he does have the mechanical detail and everything, he kind of is underwhelming with in articulation. And overall, his head can look up and down. It can swivel from side to side. It can pivot. Shoulders rotate a full 360. It also they can move in and out right here. No elbow joint or anything. No bicep swivel. He does have a bit of a rotation right there, but it just ends up bleeding into his shoulder rotation. And then his wrists can move up, they can move down, and then he does get wrist swiveling. And then he does get a arching back, not that much of a crunch, not that much waist swiveling, and tiny bit of pivoting. Hips can't really kick forward all that far. I don't know if it's because it's tight or that's just the way it's molded. Can't really kick back, can't really move outward that far. Barely any thigh swivel. Bend at the knee is way under 90 degrees. And then the ankles can move up, down, and he has ankle pivot. So overall, it is technically how a pretty stiff figure. I mean, it is a protocol droid. They are kind of stiff, and they always have stiff movements. But I feel like my complaint is legitimate when the C-3PO figure that I have has more articulation. Like, he's got elbows right here that shift around. His hips can move a lot farther. His waist actually works better. Like, I feel like my C-3PO here has better articulation than this figure does. But I also think it's because I'm also a little biased toward the C-3PO figure because I just love the metallic gold paint they have on this guy, and it makes him stand out a lot more than this guy does. And now taking a look at our friend, the Phase 2 Clone Trooper Gingerbread Man. I do like the way how it looks. I mean, it really is just the Phase 2 Clone Trooper helmet, which is my preferred clone helmet design. But instead, the details now have the inner workings of the visor and the mouth done in white, almost as if it was made with frosting. And also he's done in this caramely brown color, and he's got this printing going all over, making him have that candified details. That's a word, right? He's got some white bits there on his wrists. And honestly, if you actually were able to custom paint this guy and paint over some of these details and such, you probably could make this guy look like a legitimate clone trooper in these colors. Maybe a clone that you would even see on maybe like, I don't know, like Geonosis or something. Now, it can't be just me, or does the clone here with the bow tie in this color kind of look a little bit like Freddy Fazbear?
Gregory, do you see that small vent on the floor? It will be hard for you to be sus.
And the articulation is done pretty well too. His head can look down that far, it can look up. Little bit of pivoting, swiveling from side to side, shoulders rotate. There is a butterfly joint in there. Shoulders can move outward that far. This is a pliable material for the shoulder pads, so those can shift around. He does get a slight bicep, no bicep swivel, but he does have the elbow swivel, which is pretty tight. He does have a bend at the elbow, which bends about 90 degrees. Also, be careful of these little rubber parts that go in between his elbows. Those could tear. Mine haven't teared, but it is something I've heard people say on Instagram, so I guess it's worth mentioning. Wrists rotate. This one hinges in and out, and this one hinges up and down. He does get a diaphragm joint, allows for him arching back, crunch, diaphragm pivot, waist swiveling. Hips can kick forward that far, but if you rotate the thigh, they can move outward even more. Hips can move outward that far. He does get the previously mentioned thigh swivel. Bend at the knee. Again, same thing with the elbows. Be careful of these little rubbery tendon parts when you bend them. He does have a swivel at the knee. Ankles can move up. They can move down. And he does get ankle pivot and peg holes at the bottom of the feet. Forgot to mention the protocol droid also has peg holes at the bottom of his feet as well. And now taking a look at the Christmas Mandalorian. Honestly, this is my favorite figure of the bunch because he's the best looking with his Christmas design, but not just that, I am a little biased toward Mandalorians. And overall, I do like the toyetic look of him with his red and green colors. And the biggest difference here is he's got this sweater detail all over his armor here, and it looks very nice. It's got the Mythosaur skull, got some helmets, and I like how it really comes across as an actual sweater. He's got his red Speedo right there. He's got his green gauntlets, his green jetpack. You can remove this, by the way, but, I mean, there's not really any point to. Plus, it's in there pretty snuggly. And then he does have this red underneath, which actually doesn't look too out of place. I thought it would look out of place, but no. He does. What is out of place, though, is he does have these holsters right here, which are supposed to hold pistols, but this figure doesn't come with pistols, so these are just empty gaps in his hips. And then he does have these shin guards right here, which looks nice, and oh my gosh, he's wearing Crocs. He is, with the color they used, he is literally wearing Crocs. And yeah, overall, the detail of the armor and like all the tubes and hoses and mechanical components and all the wrinkles in the armor, it looks great. But what's also great is the articulation. Sadly, the head, though, is a little limited. It can't really look up or down all that far, but it is good for swiveling from side to side. Shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can move out that far and in that far. He does get a swivel at the bicep and a swivel at the gauntlet. He does bend 90 degrees at the elbow. The wrists rotate and hinge in and out, and this one hinges in and out as well. He does have a waist swivel, can't really do any other stuff with the diaphragm. Hips can kick forward, they can't really kick back, they can move outward somewhat. He does have a tight thigh swivel, double bend at the knee, which bends in pretty far, very Marvel Legends style knees. The Crocs can't really move up, they can move down, and he does get some nice ankle pivot at those Crocs. So anyway, that is basically it for The Mandalorian. And for comparisons, here they are with my previous Star Wars The Black Series figure. I have taken a look at the Star Wars The Black Series Gaming Greats Republic Commando Fixer and Sev. Sorry, almost forgot to add in their little companions here for the comparisons. Way to go, Briximus Prime. I thought you said you were a professional. Yeah, we clearly have different definitions of what a professional is. And then here's the best that I could do to find some comparisons for their mold mate in-universe character comparisons, I guess is what we'll call it. But anyway, that is it for the comparisons. And yeah, that is basically it for my review on the Star Wars The Black Series Holiday Collections Mandalorian, Protocol Droid, and Phase 2 Clone Trooper. And yeah, overall, I do like the figures. The Protocol Droid definitely is the most bland of the bunch. And the Phase 2 Clone Trooper is definitely an interesting one and really good for open to customization, but the Mandalorian is definitely the one that takes the cake for me. But overall, I think all three of the figures are pretty well done, but my only problem is it's not really in the actual figures themselves, it's in just the concept of having holiday figures in general. I've never been a big fan of having figures that are specific for a very specific holiday, because then they act more like decorations than they are really for like something that you actually play with like every single day of the year or whatever. Because it's like the Christmas stuff, it doesn't really feel like they're worth playing with unless it's during Christmas. So it's like once you buy them, you just got to keep putting them in the bin every single year. Where with all of the other action figures and Star Wars figures I have, you can just keep them out on the shelf like every single day of the year. So honestly, that's just my personal bias toward that kind of like holiday figures and such. That's why I never really look at them very often. But it is something I did want to mention, and that is just me personally, and it does affect my review on these figures. But overall, if I had to give each figure their own individual rating, the Mandalorian I give a solid 6 out of 10. The Protocol Droid I give a solid 4 out of 10. And then the Clone Trooper I give a solid 5 out of 10. So anyway, that is it for this review. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to give me a like on the video. Comment down below what you guys think. Subscribe to the channel for more garbage content, I guess. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, whatever else it is you guys celebrate. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. May the Force be with you, always.